I noticed another theme as well between both the article as well as what Zach said from his own anecdotal experience. But the article did primarily focus in on teenage girls, especially. So I am curious, Matt, because I would be inclined to believe that this is something that can affect men as well. But do you feel like there is a separation between the female mind and the male mind with who's more susceptible? Or are we just, do we have different weaknesses? What's your take on some of that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would go back to Genesis and talk about how God created man and woman very differently. Man has a different role than woman, and I think that it's easy to talk about those different roles and assume that one is superior or inferior based upon what role they play, which I think is just an absolute ridiculous observation. It's not true at all. Both are absolutely necessary. Both have certain things that are vital to the other person surviving and thriving. And so I think that the female, of course, was designed to be more led, to be led by the male. And that does not mean that she does not have leadership capabilities. That does not mean that she has lack of intelligence. I think it's just a way that God designed for that complementary role to function. Some men obviously are a little bit more secondary. They don't want to take a leading role. They don't want to be the person who's up front making all the decisions. That doesn't mean that he's feminine. That just means that he has a different desire and a different stimulus for encouraging or being rewarded to take those kinds of steps. I think as a culture, we really have kind of given women rewards for being led. And so that I think plays a lot into when they're teens, they've been led, they've been guided, they've been told they need to be protected. I think in some ways they've been sheltered. And so they've been given protection from having to be influenced and struggle with that influence. Whereas, boys are more trained to do what you're supposed to do, be a man, stand up, fight back.
Hmm.
Women are not really trained to fight back as much. And I think that this is one of those mental battlegrounds where they need to fight back. They need to have a strong sense of who they are and what their role is in culture. And I think the struggle is they've been looking for that their whole life. God has given it in the Bible and given them direction, but then the world has so many options and so many counter ideas. And I think mental health is just one of the new ones. When I grew up, it was being a Victoria's Secret model and having a completely unnatural body type that now, of course, women are completely fighting against.
Hmm. Hmm. So you think it's maybe just a different vice for a different generation?
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything new under the sun. I think for men, we have the same things. We're taught that we should be successful, and so then, of course, when we're taught to be successful a certain way, like go to college and be a good boy, and if you obey, you'll get a promotion and get into the next step. But then we realize, somebody else can do it completely differently, and they're actually making even far more money. And so then we change directions. We go to something new. So it's all, I think, again, we learn from reward a lot. We really do learn from what we want and how to get it. And then, of course, there's also consequences, what keeps us from the thing that we want.